tell me when, okay? Here? And 90 those. What happened? Okay, how can I?
Still at 12:15. Oh, 12?
Yeah.
Well, let's just, okay.
Yeah, move the flags.
Okay.
Not all are you?
Yes. We're technically already.
Okay. I'll try to move the flags we can see.
Yeah, that's. Yep.
But if you're gonna move them, you want to move them?
Oh, no. We have to correct
We
it.
moved them from yesterday.
Because someone emailed us and it's just like, hey, I was watching and those flags are wrong. Well, we already took care of it. We had to wait for the news conference to wrap up. But also I was telling Dana, because we noticed it too, but it's like, what can we do? It's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no, Ada moved them yesterday.
Yeah.
Just to shift them over, so.
they were in the wrong order.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they were already like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
No, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But
That's
that was,
fixed now.
yeah, it's fixed.
If you want to message them, you can do that right now, but we're not live, but
Yeah.
live.
Oh, so it's been changed to 12:15?
Yeah.
Well, the location of the flag should be, I mean, where they are should be the same. You just move the flag.
I think it's fine. Okay, do you want to hang out here or just box it?
This is big.
It's green during the week, here at least, then it dropped down to 1. And then of course with this, I've spoken, I think they've changed managers like about 3 times already, because when I was dealing with it, it was gone. And then Sunday night, OEM was calling me about like people were saying, hey, self-check, they don't have any bands in there, so I called the other person, she Ubered them up there. But yeah, it's supposed to sound like it's starting to get protected pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
if I'm down here,
Right, yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, there's no charge. They can tell you the charge. Yeah. Like I said, during the week, they were here since
Yeah, they were here Friday.
They were here Friday.
yeah.
But like I said, Sunday I had to call up their manager. I have the manager. But I've been, but yeah, I had to deal with the first manager. Maybe a week, she was gone on the second. Yeah, it moved very quick. And then, of course, when we got noticed that like it was going to cut the money, and we were supposed to sell check.
Well, they have the machines.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It's no big deal. It's like,
Yeah.
you check it out for yourself.
And also, a lot of times that people are,
Yeah.
there. But even the security guards, they're like,
Well, initially, our security guys, when we first started, they were really good. And as far as just like, and my company here from GSD, the director of the call, and said that they were leaving. They're not supposed to be doing it. So then we had to and I monitored it until they said this thing started. Which they were buying count checks. The reason I expect there's different colors that come in and but yeah, it's a crazy time. Exactly. So you live in this so is Daryl still around? Okay, I hadn't seen him in a while. And I think it was Modesta, I think he retired, right?
yes.
Okay.
Right after retired.
Okay. And then there was another, it was Luis, the guitar player. Because one of them was married. What? Carlos.
Yeah.
Is he still there?
No, he's retired.
Okay. Because he was married to my friend. We were both PIOs when we were released from Sandra. So I don't know how long it's been. Okay. I just haven't seen him. So long. Okay. Yeah, because like Carol Rivera. Okay. Did you know her?
No.
Yeah, so she came here in white. And then white was like, really? Yeah. What brings you out here? It's about time.
You get stuck out here.
Well, there's one in the black area. But
Like a box on here.
go ahead. Do they keep you busy? Thank you. You can go back outside.
All in the corner.
Not yet. I've been How about yourself?
Yeah, I was at home and
So everyone's sleeping? Okay. Yeah, I saw you go yesterday. You should help us out, man. Wrong order. I said, we'll take care of it.
You know, I was not a military person. So it's an excuse, I get that, so.
Well, you saw it yesterday.
I apologize for that. Believe me, I'm sure somebody probably made somebody aware of it.
Well, we noticed that, and like I said, then we took care of it, so we emailed me about it. Oh, it's called the one.
Well, I was just told it was fairly new.
So it's a Sarah Farms joining today, right? Yeah, we have power. No, we have. Oh, okay. He's-
No, I did not. Here I was. It's so funny because, you know, I think when was it, like in May last year, I went to a dinner gala thing, and it was with Dr. Mio, had a Cuber present. So, yeah, she's a good, and she invited us to her, so and made sure she had everything. So near the table as well. A little bit right now, but she was supposed to, but she wasn't there. She's like, she will not leave her house.
Basically,
You want to leave our house?
She won't leave her house. She's going to leave her house.
come on. That was fun.
Leave early.
That's it. Yeah, kind of make sure you have the resources there. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's things like this. Do you know why this thing is so? Yeah, like this. Fine.
Well, we're supposed to have this.
Yeah.
What's that?
But it's through your doors. And the doors wide open.
Well, they just recently closed it because we were having open.
Please.
Yeah. Well, you know, people on the board.
Right. Yeah, she's a lot of things. Just for security.
Oh, I think so.
Let me say good afternoon. I've got several people standing with me. Chief Bunick, who's over the Office of Emergency Management, Chief Acevedo, of course, with Police, Chief Pena with Fire, and Kenny Mercado, who's with Centerpoint Energy, the Senior Vice President with Centerpoint, is here as well. Let me just go over a few things, and then I'm going to first call on Chief Bunick to follow me. I know that in our Houston region, that there are still approximately 1.3 million people without power, and a large segment of that group has been without power since Monday morning, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. So it's been at least 24 hours plus that they've been without water. And again, and I know how frustrating it is, and people have every right to be frustrated, to be angry. I get it. I understand it, especially for our senior citizens. And to be angry, I get it. I understand it, especially for our senior citizens and critical care customers, families with children. It's been it's been a very difficult period. And it's even more difficult when you can't tell people specifically how much longer will they be without power, when can they expect the power to be restored. I had a conversation this morning with the head of ERCOT. ERCOT is the state entity agency that's like the manages the Texas grid. I refer to ERCOT as the traffic cop, so to speak. They are the ones who work directly with our power generators, even with our transmission and distribution companies like Centerpoint, like Encore in that Dallas region. So I had a conversation with him this morning and asked specifically, how much longer? What can you tell me that I can convey to the people here in the city of Houston? And as he put it, Mayor, the major issue is getting generation back online. They're needing to get generation back online. And that will help everyone That will help Centerpoint, that will help Encore. It will help to push the power down to our retail electric providers who can get it down to the end users, to you, the homeowners in our city. The hope is that some power will be restored sometime today. I do know that some households have their power have been restored, and I specifically asked, can you quantify how many households power will be restored? At that time, I didn't get a specific response, but I do hear up to this point that about 400,000 households power will be restored sometime today. Now that will be a significant improvement, but in view of the fact that there are 1.3 million customers that are without power in this Houston region, the Centerpoint territory, that means we still have a way to go. But it is important, and what I've indicated to ERCOT, what I've indicated to our state officials at all levels, is that it's just critically important for the power to be restored as quickly as possible. That's important. That's the number one priority, especially for our seniors who are in these homes and freezer conditions. It's cold on the outside. It's cold in their homes even as well. And then people, critical care customers, people who are relying on medical devices. They're needing oxygen. Their batteries are getting low. Their oxygen tanks are getting low. And so let me ask for those individuals, critical care customers, senior citizens, if you find yourself needing additional assistance because your power is out, please notify 311. And let me address that. I know that there's been some time lag in 311 because many of our operators, 311 operators who have been working remotely, because the power is out. That is affecting their ability to take some of these 311 calls. I have asked them to come in to the HEX Center and to stay here for the rest of this event. And so that will help to shorten the time that when you are calling and getting someone on the other end. So, but the point is, and what I will stress to everyone at the state level, to ERCOT, to our providers, that we need to get this power restored ASAP. And at the very minimum, got to give us some information so that we can tell people when they can expect the power to be restored. But that's priority number one. In addition, you can imagine what is the pressure it is putting on our shelters. At the George R. Brown, for example, the initial group that we were targeting were our homeless population, people living on our streets. We've even had to expand that somewhat because of what is happening with the power being out. Where we had initially planned for 200 up to 500, now there are roughly 797 people within the warming center, the shelter at the George R. Brown. It is now maxed out. Because of COVID and the healthcare protocols, we simply can't take any more. We've gone significantly over and above what we had scheduled, what we had planned with 797. I am grateful that Lakewood Church has made itself available, and in some cases we are transporting people by bus, and I want to thank Metro and Yellow Cab and others for assisting. We are transporting people over to Lakewood. So let me thank Lakewood for rising to the occasion and assisting. And then secondly, of course, you can always count on Mattress Mac, Gallery Furniture. I want to thank him for opening up his business, Gallery Furniture, that will serve as a warming center as well. So recognizing that because of the power being out, and the number of people being affected, we're doing our very best to open additional warming centers to assist people. And then as a result of the weather this evening, we're expecting tonight some cold precipitation, freezing precipitation to come into the area tonight, lasting over to tomorrow morning. The weather is going to be somewhat treacherous for city employees. All this applies to all city employees. We're going to delay your coming in for a couple of hours. That messaging is going out. You still will be expected to come in tomorrow, but we're going to delay that for a couple of hours because of the morning precipitation. And then with regards to testing and vaccines, that is not going to take place tomorrow. So there will be no testing, there will be no vaccine distributions, shots being given tomorrow by the health department because of the weather. And again, if you have an appointment, that will be rescheduled, and the odds are that will also apply to Thursday as well. So please take note, and they will be letting you know. There have been some questions as to whether or not the city is cutting out or holding. Suspending in terms of water service. Let me tell you that is not the case. We are not turning off water. We are not providing water, for example, to the medical center or any other subdivision. The pressure may be a little low because of what we are going through, but no water is being not provided. So I just want to deal with that. We will ask people, for example, with respect to your power, if you do have power, to conserve power on that end. But with respect to the water pressure is lower than it would normally be, but all systems are still good, and we're doing everything we can to boost up the pressure, but no water is being curtailed at this time, and I don't see the need for that at this point. Let me stop at this right now. I'll come back a little bit later on. Let me first call up Chief Bunig with the Office of Emergency Management.
Great. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership and guidance during this critical time, especially when a lot of the issues that we are dealing with are beyond the city's control. The Office of Emergency Management is still coordinating with all the city departments. It's a team effort, like I said yesterday, and what we're mainly concerned about right now are life safety issues. We are connecting people that are in need with people that can provide services. As the mayor stated, the GRB is full, so we're thankful for others that are opening up the warming centers. We also need neighborhood people to pitch in. It's called Neighbors Helping Neighbors. If you know of some seniors, excess functional need people, or people that are just within power in your neighborhood and you're one of the fortunate ones that have power, invite people in, allow them to charge their devices up. If we have businesses out there that have power, there's a lot of people in need that have been calling that say they need to charge their cell phones, their computers. They need to be able to stay in touch. So if you can provide any of those types of service, we would appreciate it. If you have a community center or a church social hall in the neighborhoods that can open at least during the daytime to allow some people in to get warm or to charge their devices, we would really appreciate it. Send us that information and we'll publicize it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so very, very much. Now let me call on Chief Acevedo.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your leadership and for always being here with us. First and foremost, the police department wants to report that we're fully operational. We are on tactical alert, and we have all hands on deck. As of 11 a.m. this morning, between 1800 6 p.m. on Valentine's Day through 11 a.m., the police department has worked 588 traffic crashes. Right now, we have 88 calls holding. And I'm happy to say that the vast majority are very low-level calls. We've had 2 officers injured to slipping on ice, so be very careful out there. And unfortunately, we've had 3 DOAs, losses of life, 1 homeless individual yesterday, believed to be from the weather, and obviously the 2 family members from carbon monoxide poisoning yesterday. I know Chief Pena will talk about. And we've been very fortunate. We've only had 1 traffic fatality considering the conditions. But I think that the job that you've done in terms of keeping people off the roadway has helped us keep that down to 1 fatality. As of right now, we have closures at 610 at Scott, North Freeway southbound at Beltway 8, I-10 between 45 northbound ramp and exit 768A, 59 southbound I-10 at the I-10 east-west split, 288 northbound on Belfort, northbound Gulf Freeway south of the Loop, and South Post Oak ramp at Main, and North Shepherd off-ramp at 34th. Please, if you see barricades up, do not go past the barricades. Do not move the barricades, and don't run over the barricades. In most instances, there'll be police officers that you may not see on those ramps, and you end up either getting yourself arrested or cited, or you might hurt someone. The other thing that I want to make sure that the community knows, especially to the criminal element, we will have a lot of officers out and about in the city, in police cars and unmarked cars, keeping an eye on commercial facilities, on pawn shops, on gun stores, and on all other critical infrastructure. We are fully operational, and we're all hands deployed, Mayor. Thank you again, and that's my report.
Thank you. Chief Pena.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I want to thank the men and women of the Houston Fire Department for the incredible work that they've been doing throughout this crisis. I don't get a chance to thank them individually and personally, but to them, to all first responders, to public safety workers, public employees, I want to say, their work during the freezes or floodings or pandemics, thank you. For the fire department, our report is, over the last 24 hours, we've run over 2,200 calls for service. We're up about 180% above our normal call volume. So our resources are really being stretched thin. We had 56 fire calls over the last 24 hours, and we responded to over 90 calls for carbon monoxide poisoning. I want to take this moment, Mayor, to talk a little bit about the dangers of carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is colorless and it's odorless, but it'll punch victims when they least expect it, okay? Especially in their sleep. Carbon monoxide is produced when you burn fuels. So if you use stoves to heat your homes, if you use the ovens to heat your homes, if you're using grills inside your homes, or if you're using generators that are too close to any openings in your home, you can quickly fill up that space with carbon monoxide. It doesn't take much, and a little bit can begin to be lethal for people inside those homes. The other thing that we're seeing is people they're doing whatever they need to do to try to stay warm, and they're using their vehicles, they're getting in their vehicles, turning on the vehicles to try to stay warm. If you do that, do not do so inside your garages, even if the garage door is open. That carbon monoxide can quickly fill up that space, and it becomes lethal. The signs and symptoms of carbon monoxide: headaches, fatigue, shortness of breath, nausea, dizziness, loss of consciousness. All those things are signs and symptoms of carbon monoxide. If you're experiencing those signs, go outside immediately and call 911 for an evaluation. It is critical that you understand the dangers of using open flames inside your homes to try to heat up your homes. In regards to fires, as I mentioned, we responded to 56 fires in the last 24 hours. Those families that don't have electricity, that are part of the blackouts at this moment, what I recommend is that you unplug all your devices. Okay, when the power comes back up, that's going to avoid any possible shortages and possible fires. So again, please, we're in the middle of this crisis. It's going to get cold tonight. People are going to resort to different ways of trying to heat their homes. Be very cautious with how you do that. We recommend, as the mayor mentioned, if you can, seek assistance at any of the warming centers. Reach out to your families, to your friends, or somewhere where you can go and stay warm if you cannot do so in your home safely. But do not use grills, do not use propane heaters or generators too close to the home, because carbon monoxide is a definite risk, is a silent killer, and we've already responded to 90 calls in the last 24 hours, and sadly we had 2 fatalities. So with that, that's my report, man. Thank you.
And you have been listening to the mayor and other city leaders that have been discussing the situation about our weather. You can continue to watch that on khou.com and the mobile app. But right now, we're going to pivot to Governor Abbott for more information about what is happening across the state. He is joining us now live by phone. Governor Abbott, thank you for being with us. Can you hear us? We have seen
lull us into a sense of security. As the temperatures drop off tonight, we will begin to see some of those areas where the roads are still wet. They will freeze back up. And so we need to make sure that people stay off these roads and make sure that you keep yourselves and your family safe by not being out in these conditions, particularly as the sun sets and this ice freezes back up. We will see that not just on bridges and overpasses, but we'll see that on the freeways as well. So we want to make sure that we're taking care to do that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is our water system. We are working very hard to keep the water system functioning throughout the city of Houston. And right now we do have pressures throughout the city of Houston. If you don't have water at your specific house, you probably have some pipes that have frozen up during this. And so we're asking that you get prepared for that and that you know where the shutoff is to your house and that you know where the shutoff is in the meter if you don't know where the shutoff is in your house. We're going to be providing information to the media this afternoon on how to turn the water off to your house. As it does begin to thaw out, you'll begin to encounter those areas where we may have had pipes that have burst. We are working to prioritize returning all of our groundwater wells back into service right now to continue to boost that pressure, but it's going to be a little while before we catch back up on raising the pressures to what we normally see citywide. However, we are in a good shape for the pressures that we are staying above regulatory thresholds at this point. The water is safe. If you do have water that's being delivered to your house, it meets all the requirements. It is safe to drink. It is safe to cook with. But we are asking that you do remain vigilant and careful. We're also asking, if you do have water, to use it sparingly, to use it for health and safety needs, and to keep that water in the system. That help keeps the pressure up for everybody else as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Haddock. Let me call up on Kitty Mikado, Senior Vice President of Centerpoint.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your leadership as we've gone through this crisis. And it's really an honor to be here. And I want to just mention a couple things very briefly. Number one, as you heard the mayor talk earlier about the electricity issues across our area, for us, we own and we manage the transmission and distribution system. So we're the wires business. And we went through the storm as the city has done as well. And I want to report today that our transmission system is 100% recovered. It's ready and it is operating perfectly. So we're in great shape on our transmission grid. Secondly, our distribution system that serves all of our homes across the greater Houston area, it's also in great shape. Some small damages were reported. Most of those damages were addressed yesterday. We're finishing up some issues today, Mayor. We have a distribution system that'll be ready to go today for the next storm. And as soon as we get the generation back on across the greater Houston area, then you will see the power delivered to the customers very efficiently, very safely, as quickly as we can. Secondly, I want to mention to you, for those who do have the long extended outages, we're working hard to try to move you out of that outage situation. We got started last night on this process, and we were very successful with it. The good news is we were able to get some of our customers who've had the extended outages back on last night. Then we had to stop, and we had to stop because ERCOT was now asking for more load to be reduced across our area, so we had to stop the process. As we sit here now, we're beginning to get a little bit more opportunity to do this again, and so we're moving forward with more of our customers trying to make a trade-off. We still have to have the same amount of power outages, but we're trying to trade off those who've been out for the extended period of time and replace them with customers who haven't been out. And that process is ongoing right now. We hope that if ERCOT continues to give us some relief, we hope that we can do that for the rest of today. In addition, there is some new generation that is beginning to come online. We're optimistic that will help and give us some relief, as you heard from the mayor today. As that generation comes online and as ERCOT gives us the authority, then we will get customers back on as quickly as we can. And then lastly, I'll tell you, as I said yesterday on many TV outlets, conserve, conserve, conserve. We need every watt savings as we can. If you save a watt of power, we won't have to put out a lot of power. So we appreciate everybody's efforts in conserving electricity as we go through this process together. Thank you for your time.
And thank you very, very much. Let me address a few things that I've seen. For example, the lights being on in the downtown buildings. And certainly I have asked the downtown management district to assist, also Centerpoint to assist in notifying those building owners and managers to turn off their lights. A couple of days ago, we asked everybody to conserve their power, not just homeowners, but businesses across the board to conserve their power. I'm going to ask again for those buildings, for example, downtown, or really anywhere in the city of Houston, that are not being utilized, occupied, especially in the evening times, to turn off those lights. With respect to the downtown area, you can't turn everything off downtown because all of the hotels are full, because people are utilizing those hotels because they don't have power at homes. So that's one. Secondly, the George R. Brown. We've got close to 800 people that are there as a homeless shelter. So that's downtown. And then thirdly, bear in mind, you've got thousands of people in your county jails that are downtown as well. But with respect to all of the other buildings, let's be sensitive with respect to the fact that there are many residential homeowners, for example, and others that are in the dark, and it doesn't make sense to have these buildings, these lights illuminated on, especially when there are very few people that are in them, especially at night. So let's all participate in conserving the energy such that we can get this power restored. Secondly, as I indicated to ERCOT, they must provide Centerpoint, Encore, all of your transmission distribution providers, what they need to restore power as quickly as possible. That must take place. We have to have more generation in this state. It is simply unacceptable at this point for people to be without power at the coldest time in our history in the last 30 years. It's just unacceptable. So we have to have more generation, and then ERCOT has to provide the flexibility. And so I'm calling on the state leaders to assist, because ERCOT is a state entity that oversees and manages the entire Texas grid. You know, I don't have that power, don't have that authority. If I did, I would use it, but I don't. So it is important for ERCOT, state leadership, to provide as much flexibility to do everything that they can to increase generation that can be provided to the transmission and distribution systems, so that power can get to the people who are in these homes, in these apartments, and they are in frigid and very cold conditions. So that's very important. And then lastly, let me just say this. As we deal with this cold weather, I don't want us to lose sight of the fact, Congresswoman, we're still dealing with COVID. Yes. So I don't want us, we have to deal with COVID and the cold weather all at the same time. And so again, one of the reasons why we just can't add additional people to the George R. Brown is because of the healthcare protocols. We still have to have the social distancing, the sanitizers, all of the medical protocols we have to adhere to. So that's critically important. So don't forget about COVID. The coronavirus is still very much present in our community. So we have to deal with both at the same time. But depending on the weather, it does appear that the testing and the vaccine shots will commence probably more so on Friday rather than even on. I know it won't take place tomorrow, depending on the weather. Thursday is problematic. The better is probably that it will take place on Friday. Congresswoman, you're here, please. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee.
Thank you very much, Mayor. The task of a member of Congress is to work closely with their local officials, the mayor and the county judge. The mayor and I met yesterday, and he tasked me with a few assignments that I had been working on. And I wanted to thank him very much for this ongoing leadership, and really want to take the time to thank Chief Acevedo, Chief Pena. All of them have been getting individual calls from all of us about Mayor, our constituents stuck in their homes. I think it's important to give a little color to individuals, a senior that fell down in the dark, broke his leg, seniors who had to be taken out by ambulance last evening, freezing. These are all city services, our OME staff, Centerpoint, and of course Public Works. So it's my task, of course, to say thank you. My district happens to lay on top of the city, and so when we say 1.3 million, a whole lot of those individuals are in the 18th Congressional District, from Fallbrook to Veterans Memorial, Spring, all the way to our inner city areas like 3rd Ward, 5th Ward, Acres Home, southeast parts, and beyond. A lot of senior citizens. We get calls about blankets, and so we're really in a desperate set of circumstances. In the last 2 days, I have met by phone with the United States Department of Energy, and they are now working for the requests that we have made, Mayor, on behalf of the city, and I'd like to give a report as to where we are. First of all, I think it's important to note that the mayor is correct. This infrastructure belongs to the state. The U.S. Department of Energy, because we deregulated some years ago, energy is less controlled by the government. When I say that, the federal government, because of deregulation. I asked them why our state seemed to be the most devastated, because there are surrounding states that have similar weather conditions that may be doing a little bit better. One of the issues that the mayor presides over one of the largest cities in the nation. We are urban and rural, and so we're dense. And what has been discerned by the U.S. Department of Energy is one of the problems is that our system is an isolated system. Texas never worked to intermingle with surrounding states. So it makes it very difficult for surrounding states to help us because we have very few sites to receive the information. They have indicated that they're going to help me legislatively. That's down the road. I know we can't deal with that now. To get huge funding to redo what we don't have. We don't have, it's almost like, if I might, you've got 5 cars and you got a 1-car garage. And you can't get your 5 cars into a 1-car garage. So we do not have the sites to receive this. But what we have begun to do, and I need to have an explanation from ERCOT because I don't think they have given this information, I don't know if Centerpoint has it, have given this information to local authorities. Based on my request yesterday for them to go out hunting for resources, they have asked the Southwest Power Administration that falls under the Department of Energy to send us power. They have sent us hydropower. They have already sent that power to the state. I think it is important for ERCOT to let us know where that power is being used. I've asked them to continue. They are now going back to do as I asked, which is they're going to go to New York, they're going to go to California, and try to see whether or not we can get any sources between now and then. Obviously, the distributors have to be involved as well, but the federal government is now asking New York and California if they can help us. I even asked Mexico, but Mexico is in dire straits right now because they didn't get the natural gas that they needed to get. My good friends at Centerpoint, I'm not sure whether they can reach there, and maybe they'll respond, we'll talk offline. New Mexico is also a viable entity in terms of some of our distribution companies. But Mayor, I will say to you that we are pushing them as hard as we can to see whether or not we can get any swaps, any loans, that's my terminology, that can get in here for the next couple of days. My concern is that we thought we'd be finished by Wednesday, but I understand that the weather report suggests that we may be going into Thursday. If that's the case, then we need to have an additional resource. Let me conclude by indicating all of our hearts are broken by the lives that have been lost. Carbon monoxide, fires, they're all around, grandmothers, children. It's very painful. and seniors who are by themselves who need help as well. I just hope to encourage all of those who are able to hear, those who are able to help, is to check on our seniors and people with special needs, and to inform people that cars in garage tragically probably don't work, and tragically we just beg people. I called churches this morning. I know the mayor's been calling churches. They're out of power, so they can't even open their sites for us. But I beg people to be very careful with their fireplaces, their cars, and certainly to check on seniors. I've had homeowners offer their homes to be able to open them up to a variety of people. That's what Houstonians are all about. I do want to again give the address of 16605, which I gave to the mayor and the city, Air Center Boulevard. That warming center has showers, hot showers for men and women. They have hot food. They have 100 cots. And maybe in the daytime, you could utilize the daytime and get warmed up, get your children warmed up. They have a space, 115,000 square feet. And if you can carefully get there, they're ready now to receive you. And I hope that people who are freezing in their homes may take a moment. I know cold weather is coming, and they may take a moment to take advantage of that particular center. With that in mind, Mayor, thank you. We will continue to reach out and see what we can get. They'll be reporting back to me on those two states, and Southwest has already given hydropower to the state right now. The question is where that utilization is. Needs to be down here in Houston, Texas,
Thank you.
among other areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. We'll stop and take any questions you may have to anyone.
Some residents are blaming the city. Can you let the residents know what involvement the city has?
Well, you can't blame the city on something that the city has no control over. The Texas grid is run by the state of Texas. ERCOT is a state entity. Okay, it is the manager of the Texas grid. Okay, power generation that is done. Those are your private generators, but they provide the power that the transmission and distribution system utilizes. Your center points, your Encore. Then it goes to your retail electric providers and then to the end users. The city does not oversee ERCOT. That's a state entity. And I know people see me standing before them on a regular basis. And I know, quite frankly, at the end of the day, for people who are without power, they don't care who's in control, who's in charge. They don't care. The only thing people want is that they want the heat in their homes. They want the power, so they don't really care. And I know people are looking for someone to blame. And I'm not here to be pointing fingers, but the facts are important and the truth is important. For those things that the city can control or the county can control, we'll take 100% ownership. And I'll take 100% ownership. But on this, the city has no control. And I am saying to the state, to ERCOT, to those who are supplying the power, distributing the power, it is critically important for so many Houstonians, especially critical care customers, seniors, and children, that they need their power restored, quite frankly, yesterday. No one imagined that more than 24 hours people would still be without power at the coldest point in 30 years. No one would have imagined. But with all due respect, this does not belong at the feet of the city or the county. Yes.
What happens to people who want to come in and seek shelter?
Yeah, Georgia Brown is beyond capacity because of the circumstances, the dire circumstances. We didn't want to turn anyone away, so there are 797 people at Georgia Brown. Initially, we were going up to 500, so we've almost doubled the capacity. Now we are redirecting people, for example, to Lakewood Church. And in some cases, thanks to Metro and Yellow Cab and others, we're even transporting people over to Lakewood. And then we're also transporting people to Gallery Furniture. And then if you want to go further north, the Congresswoman has been instrumental in coming up with another site, the address on that site again, Congresswoman.
16605 Air Center Boulevard. And they have cots, warm space, room for 500 plus, and heated showers. And we'd appreciate Metro and officers and Yellow Cab referring them there.
So there are multiple warming sites as well, and we're helping to direct people. We're not just telling people you can go, these sites exist, but we're also helping to transport them to those sites as well. Okay.
So, Mayor, sorry I missed the beginning of this, but can you just give me a synopsis on what I missed?
Well, number one, we recognize that there are still 1.3 million customers in this Houston region that are without power. I did have a conversation, for example, with the head of ERCOT earlier this morning to express my discontent. In all candor, he reached out to me and pointed that the number one issue is getting generation back online. And that is true. That's the number one issue. And ERCOT and all of the power providers need to do everything that they can, state leaders, to get this generation up as much as possible and take advantage of any other energy sources, as the Congresswoman indicated, that has been forwarded here. So that's number one. What people are looking for, they want to be able to have power in their homes, okay? Because it's cold on the outside, but let me tell you, when you're in a home, it just seems like it's even colder in your home, and you can never get warm enough. So that's number one. Now, I am told that they, ERCOT and others have, I want to say freed up, but provided additional power for about 400,000 in the Houston region. That's a step in the right direction. When that power is going to be restored, I can't tell you exactly, but, there are 1.3 million that are without customers without it right now. And so in some cases, as Senator Point indicated, for those who have been out without power the longest, they're going to try to provide, some people may come off in order for others who have been out for a long time to come on, but the optimum solution is to get everybody's power on as quickly as possible. And so really insisting, urging ERCOT and state leadership to do everything within their power to provide the necessary power to restore people's power. At the same time, the shelters are available. Well, George R. Brown is now at full capacity, so we are redirecting people elsewhere, Lakewood, Galleries, Furniture, and then there will be no testing or vaccine distribution in the city of Houston tomorrow, and it probably won't pick up again until Friday morning because of the weather. Tonight is going to be, there's going to be some freezing precipitation starting tonight going into tomorrow morning. So the roads are going to be dangerous, treacherous in the morning. For our city employees, we're going to delay start time for a couple of hours. But please tonight you need to stay off the road again, okay? This is one of those extended cold periods, okay? And though the sun may be out during the day, at nighttime, it becomes very dangerous. So tonight, you need to be off the road, and quite frankly, you need to be very, very careful. I would recommend that you not even be on the road in the morning because it's going to be freezing precipitation on the roads in the morning. So probably like today, you need to kind of wait a few hours before getting on the road tomorrow. But we'll be in this kind of frigid state probably, through Thursday, with things really warming up again on Friday.
May I offer him a word?
I'm sorry. Congresswoman.
What I added to the mayor's representation is the work of the federal government. In talking to the mayor, in talking to county officials over the last couple of days, The question has been what the federal government can do. I spoke earlier this morning about the request that we made yesterday. And so the federal government, now the U.S. Department of Energy, has said several things. Unfortunately, Texas has one of the worst energy infrastructure. It's shocking to know we're a very wealthy state, it appears. Certainly there are impoverished people, but from the state perspective, we are viewed as a more wealthier state. We're doing far worse than any other state in the country that's experiencing this right now. But they have been asked by me to look to other entities that could give us energy resources. So one they have asked is a federal agency under the Department of Energy. It's called the Southwest Power Administration. They have hydropower. They have already given, in the last 24 hours, power, and maybe before, power to the state. I think the question has to be what is being done with that power? What is ERCOT doing with that power? Additionally, they're going to ask New York, California, and some others, maybe New Mexico, in this short period of time, what they can give to us. I'm concerned about the entire state, but because we are so urban and we have so many people here, the mayor has 1.3 million out or in the county or in the city, I'm hoping that they will direct that energy here to this area because, as the mayor has said, all people want to know is when they can turn on the lights. We have had seniors who are calling for blankets, seniors taken to hospitals, and certainly there are critically needed people, seniors who've broken their leg because of the darkness and have to be taken away to some kind of medical care. So hopefully I will have, obviously, the congressional delegation's concern is for the people. Hopefully we'll have some response as to how much we've received. And one of the things that I think is missing is I think ERCOT's face should be seen. They should give a public reckoning as to what they're doing with the energy or why they're having roll-offs or why they're taking back resources. My district sits on top of the city. It has most of all the city areas, along with some of my colleagues. But I go from Veterans Memorial to Humble to, well, Humble's not in the city, but to Fallbrook and Spring, all the way over to 5th Ward, 3rd Ward, and otherwise. So what we're hoping for is getting, in addition to what ERCOT is doing, can they take some of what we can manage to give from other states to be helpful to turn the energy on, the lights on here in Houston.
Mayor, just for the Houston Chronicle, there have been reports that there have been some groundwater. So can we confirm that? Are we issuing a boil water notice?
There's been some who?
Brownish water. Are we issuing a boil water notice? So we're just now getting those reports ourselves. We're sending out investigators to look at them. At this point, our pressures are good. We're tight. I won't lie about that, but our pressures are maintaining. They're good, and we are not at that point that we anticipate issuing a boil water notice. But we will stay on top of it. We'll keep a close eye on it, and we're doing everything in our power to stay out of that.
I would tell you normally boil water notice is given when the pressure falls below 20 psi's, and we are above 20 psi's. And so this was a situation that we looked at very closely during Harvey, so I'm quite familiar with it. But at this point in time, we are above, and so there is no boil water notice having to be given. And then we're doing everything we can with all of the power outages to make sure that we maintain power at our facilities and get the pressure up. So that's why we're asking everybody to do their part so that we can maintain the necessary pressure for the fourth largest city in the United States of America. So for now, things are good. But like everything, as Director Haddock said, we're having to monitor things very, very closely. Okay. Anything else?
I think we're done. I think we want to get a little bit in Spanish if we're done, let's get a little bit in Spanish.
Okay, then let me defer to Chief Pena or Chief Acevedo on the Spanish. I would do it, but I've got to get ready for a city council meeting, so I'm not going to be able to do the Spanish today. Myself.
Just take a look at your notes, and I'll relay that information as well. I'll turn these to you here.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Thank you. You want to do it?
Buenos días. Queremos anunciar que el Departamento de la Policía de Houston, el Departamento de los Bomberos de Houston. Hey, are you paying attention?
He's done.
Okay. Y eso es todo. Gracias. Bueno, queremos que sepan que el Departamento de Policía de Houston y el Departamento de Bomberos de Houston siguen con servicio 100%, mantienen la seguridad de la comunidad y queremos que sepa que desde el día 14 de febrero de las 6 p.m. hasta las 11 de la mañana esta mañana, el Departamento de Policía investigó casi 600 accidentes de tráfico en la ciudad. Es importante que sepan que esta noche van a haber más lluvia, van a haber más frío y el frío va a seguir hasta mañana al mediodía. Así que es importante que cuando baje la temperatura, que por favor no estén manejando si no necesitan, si no es de emergencia. Y también que sepan que hemos tenido desgraciadamente personas que han muerto porque estaban usando
Monóxido.
Sí, del monóxido, porque estaban usando cosas para mantenerle el calor en su casa y murieron desgraciadamente. Por favor, no hagan eso. También queremos que sepa que esta noche vamos a tener oficiales por toda la ciudad de la policía vestidos de paisano con vigilancia por toda la ciudad de Houston para que no hagan ninguna delincuencia. Así que esto sigue hasta mañana. Pero con el favor de Dios, mañana vamos a estar ya sin esta emergencia. ¿Want to add anything?
Just on the shelters. Bueno, lo que quiero agregar, aparte de lo que dijo el jefe Acevedo, es la ciudad de Houston está operando 3 albergues. El centro de convención del George R. Brown ya está a capacidad, ya no hay más capacidad. Pero llamando al 311, los pueden llevar si necesitan un albergue temporal a la iglesia, a la Lakewood Church o a Gallery Furniture. Y como se pueden comunicar es el 311. El 311 de ahí toman su información y los pueden llevar a cualquier albergue temporal si es necesario. Como como hemos comentado, este día, en las últimas 24 horas, hemos respondido el Departamento de Bomberos a más de 2,200 llamadas de servicio. Hemos tenido 56 incendios en la ciudad y hemos respondido a más de 90 incidentes de intoxicación de monóxido de carbón. El monóxido de carbón no se huele y no se ve, pero es letal. El monóxido de carbón se puede acumular en los hogares si están usando calentones de propano, gas propano o de carbón, o si tienen los generadores muy cerca de las aperturas de la casa. ¿Sí? Las ventanas o las puertas. Les queremos recomendar que si usan estas cosas, que no las usen dentro de sus casas, porque el monóxido se puede acumular y es letal. Los síntomas de la intoxicación de monóxido de carbón son dolor de cabeza, fatiga, si no pueden respirar, náuseas, vómitos. Si están teniendo estos síntomas, salgan afuera al aire libre y llamen al 911 para poder evaluarlos apropiadamente. La otra cosa que queremos recomendar es que no usen sus carros, si los están usando para mantenerse caliente, que no usen y no enciendan los carros adentro